last-second headlines. I see Abdul Carter has a stress fracture, and there's a fight at Starbucks.
Well, it wasn't a fight. I was at dinner, and I got a text from someone just as we were standing up. Somebody texted me a tweet from PFT commenter, otherwise known as Eric Sullenberger of Barstool, and it said there was a big-time media something at Starbucks, and I knew right away what it was because there's been some heat between Ian Rappaport of NFL Media and Jordan Schultz of Fox recently with some reporting and counter-reporting on whether or not Tom Brady, the Raiders' minority owner, hosted Matthew Stafford, the Rams quarterback, in Montana. Rappaport throwed water, or throwed, as the case may be, on the
decaf
on the report, and then Schultz doubled down. So I knew there was a catalyst there, but there's been lingering animosity between the two. I've heard enough chatter over the years to know that there's something going on between the two of them. So the way we reported it, the way I heard it, and I got quotes from Schultz. I've spoken to witnesses to the incident from the Rappaport's perspective. He's there talking to an agent. In comes Schultz and just accosts him verbally, gets in his face and says, Schultz says he doesn't remember using profanity. I'm told that there were multiple profanities, but basically if you keep talking about me, we're going to have a problem. Rappaport asked him to step back because he was right in his face, apparently, and he stepped back. And Rappaport, like, most people assume that anyone who covers the NFL is 5'2". Yeah. Because some of us are.
Yeah.
You guys can vouch that I'm not.
Yes.
Right?
I am. Tom Pelissero is.
Not that that's an issue. Not that that matters. It's funny that people are so obsessed with height. But I'm not 5'2", and the problem is Rappaport is not it's a problem, but when you're talking about a face-to-face.
It's not a face-to-face.
It's not a face-to-face. Because Schultz is 6'3", and Rappaport is what, 5'6"?
Gosh, is he
right?
6'3"?
Yeah.
6'3"?
So one of the two felt intimidated, and there was a concern it was going to turn physical. So a report was made to NFL security, who has interviewed and gotten statements. And
NFL security?
The NFL's got no jurisdiction over Schultz from an employment standpoint beyond the ability to call up Fox and say, we're pissed about your guy accosting one of our employees. They could deny him credentials to things, but there's really nothing they can do about it.
You mentioned that word accost. What is the legal definition of accost?
That's like,
it's
is that
like
the legal version of like a lower body injury? It's just very vague.
No, it's accost means you could, because I looked it up before I used it. You basically go up and get in someone's face. You get up and get in someone. He got up and he got in his face and I guess he yelled at him.
So
and
this
he said
is the
some
number.
bad words,
This is the number.
although
one
he denies it. It's amazing. Because I was telling my wife last night. And it's hard for me to not use profanity here because we were just using profanity on our show for an hour and a half. But she's like, why does anybody care about this? It's like, you don't understand. Everything here is so lather, rinse, repeat. Abdul Carter's got a stress fracture. Oh, every year it's a guy, not to downplay it because it's a serious situation for him, but every year it's some sort of but every 5 or 6 years you get something that pops beyond the usual stuff. And you've brought everybody together. They're all compressed in this city. And you hope for some crazy thing to happen. There was a time, we finally remember this, Reuben Foster, when he was coming from Alabama to the NFL. He got sent home from the combine because he had a heated altercation with a healthcare worker when he was getting one of his physicals done. So those things happen. They don't happen very often. And we got ours this year. And I am both proud of and ashamed by the fact that I was in the middle of it.
I know, because we all thought it was going to be you and Schefter like it is every other month.
No, we're fine now. I know life's more fun. Life's more fun when you've got a little heat, you got a little animosity, but we're okay for now.
Here's what I want to know. Mike Florio, Pro Football Talk, Football Night in America. Jordan Schultz's father owns Starbucks.
He was the CEO of Starbucks. He isn't any longer, but he was the CEO at the time when it went from being tiny little regional thing into worldwide behemoth.
Does Jordan Schultz just walk in there and how does that work?
Can he use the bathroom without ordering something?
I wonder if he's just got like
a card?
The secret Starbucks black card where he gets free coffee like Kramer, free coffee for life.
Yes. I love it. It's fantastic. Mike Florio here on 105.3.
Outrageous.
Is this going to cost Abdul Carter going 1?
Well, it depends upon who ultimately has the number 1 overall pick and whether and to what extent they're troubled by it. I'm sure he's going to do the surgery. Like, the choice is let it ride and hope it'll be fine or get it fixed. There's always a chance if you get something fixed, there's going to be a complication, there's going to be an issue. You make sure you go to the best possible people to get it done and have it taken care of. But they get so obsessed over every little thing. Remember when Montez Sweat was coming out in 2019? He had a heart issue, and it was no big deal, and he still went in the first round. But there were teams that were saying we can never use a first-round pick on a guy that's got that issue. So Sims tells a story about he had a dislocated ring finger a couple of times when he was at Texas, and it was no big deal, and it never bothered him again. But they flagged it, and we needed to have further evaluation. So, yeah, it depends on whether it's the Titans or someone else with that first overall pick, and it depends on how risk-averse that team is to this question and this issue. I did hear yesterday, and you hear all sorts of stuff, and I don't like to traffic in stuff I've heard because I don't know how accurate it is, but I did have somebody tell me that the Cowboys have talked to the Titans about moving up to number 1. Now, I think a lot of teams talk about moving around, and I don't know if you guys have heard that. But, yeah, that's a jump, and I don't know what you would have to put into that or whether you'd have to put Micah Parsons into that package if it would go that way. But teams talk all the time. Like, I never get too moved by team talk. They talk all the time. When the report came out a couple of weeks ago that the Steelers called the Jaguars about Trevor Lawrence, I thought, well, yeah, if they're looking for a starting quarterback, they're calling around to just see what the market will be. General managers talk to other general managers all the time, and you get, maybe you're thinking about moving to 5, so you want to see what it's going to take to get to number 1, so you can say to the team that's got number 5, this is what number 1 wants. So there's always different explanations for why a team would even do it, assuming it happened. But I did hear, haven't reported, haven't verified that there was a conversation.
Was a name attached to who they would go to 1 for?
No.
So how do you network and socialize out here? You're not going to be raging in the bars and all that stuff, right?
Well, no, I don't think that's productive because I have to be over here every morning at 6:30, and I don't want to be hungover or still drunk, as the case may be. And
that was my first question to you. I was like, were you buzzed last night writing that Rappaport recap?
No. Went to dinner and had 2 drinks. I try to have 2 drinks at dinner. I go back and I work until it's time to go to bed and get up here and do it again. For us, the main thing is getting access to general managers and coaches on Tuesday. We had 20 interviews of GMs and coaches on Tuesday, including the 2 Super Bowl head coaches and one of the 2 Super Bowl general managers, Howie Roseman. Then yesterday we did 15 interviews of the edge rusher, defensive tackle, and linebacker, off-ball linebacker prospects. I'll go back over there once we're done. We're going to have safeties, tight ends, and corners come in, and we'll talk to a bunch of them today. Tomorrow's quarterbacks, running backs, and receivers. It gives us a way to meet these guys on the way in. It gives them a way to introduce themselves to a broader audience on the way in. You know, most of them want to do it. We got a big set over there, and it's funny. One of the guys was on with Sirius, and he said to the handler from the NFL, hey, do I get to go over to the big set?
I know.
So it's a good chance for them to get to talk and sell themselves, and a fan base out there is going to be rooting for this guy and buying his jersey. It gives those people who eventually are going to say, that's my guy, hey, I feel like I already know him.
Will you go post up for the workouts today?
I don't care about the workouts. I think the workouts are just made for TV. I don't think they mean a damn thing. They just do them because they have everybody here, and somebody got the bright idea that we could do this and put it on TV. They didn't just do it so they could put it on TV. They did it because everybody was here, because medical is the thing that drives this whole show. Bring everyone together for one X-ray, one MRI, one CAT scan, one whatever, instead of, you're going to be glowing like the Incredible Hulk if you send these guys to every team and they get the same procedure done at every team. So it's efficient, it's cheaper, and they started doing the workouts, 40 years ago, and then they realized, let's put them on TV and act like they're real. They're not real. It's not football. And anytime somebody says to one of these players, oh, are you going to compete? It's not a competition. It's not a competition. It's a business proposition, and you have to make a good business decision. Is it in your best interest to do all the workouts? Should you not do some? Should you do this one? Should you not do that one? Should you not even submit to any of the medical stuff? Caleb Williams refused to submit to the medical stuff last year. He said, I'll do medical at the teams that I visit, and I'm only going to visit with the teams that I think I'm going to end up with. And I think at the end of the day, he only went to Chicago, I think.
Is that, you say you don't necessarily care about him. Do you think deep down the teams don't necessarily even care about these workouts?
Well, I think
because they're going to go to pro days anyway.
They go to pro days anyway, but this is the one place where it's truly apples to apples. Like the 40-yard dash here, it's one track, one day, one time, and you don't have to worry about is he running on a faster surface on his pro day? Who's timing the pro day workout? Do I trust that it's an accurate number? This is everyone here. But here's a reason for a quarterback, for example, not to throw here. You don't know these receivers. You never worked with them before. You don't know how he runs an out route. You don't know how he runs a dig route. You don't. And so if the ball isn't caught, oh, whose fault is it? Is it his fault? Is it your fault? So it just adds different elements into it. And if you've already, like, I am longing for the day that a player says, I ain't doing jack diddly squat. I've done my work. My film speaks for me. If you want to draft me based upon my film, do it. If you don't, one of your competitors will. And I know guys are obsessed with being drafted as high as possible because you get more money the higher you're drafted. I'd rather be drafted by the right team, and I'd want a team that gets it, that can look at this and say, I don't need to see him running around in his underwear to know that he's a good player.
Mike Florio here during the commercial-free Expressway 105.3 The Fan. Are you more interested in the overtime rules changing to represent what we get in the playoffs, or the chain gang going away?
Well, I'm fine with the chain gang going away as long as the football gets digitized. The chain gang going away is a half measure, and as Mike Ehrmantraut told us in Breaking Bad, no half measures. You need to have the ball fully digital, so when you have a scrum of bodies, this goes back to the Bills-Chiefs AFC Championship, fourth and short, Josh Allen, it looks like he gets there. So you've got the chain that is the chain. The chain's the chain, right? So the chain's going to be replaced with something that is going to be static and it's going to be digital. But if you don't have something digital to mark the ball, you've got an official on one side and an official on the other. They get their own spot, and if you go back and watch it, you can see it. They get their spot and they trot to the middle of the field on their spot. One guy has a spot that would have been first down Bills. The other guy has a spot that is first down Chiefs. And it's somewhere before they meet in the middle, the guy who had first down Bills deferred to the guy who had first down Chiefs. And it's this weird mating dance. It's just like who decides who defers, who cries uncle. And that's so I like the idea, but they're only halfway there. And the whole shrinking overtime from 15 to 10 minutes, it was a direct result of the fact that the Buccaneers played a deep into the overtime period game on a Sunday against the Raiders and then had to turn around and play the Falcons on Thursday night, and they were still gassed. I think now that everyone has accepted short week football is here to stay, they don't need to play this game of, oh, we better only have 10 minutes of overtime in case somebody who plays on Sunday is playing on Thursday and they might be more fatigued than they would be. They just don't care. If they do not care about guys being fatigued between Sunday and Thursday, whether they play 60 minutes or 75.
But getting the matching possession makes sense. That you just win the coin toss, you go down and score the touchdown. Game
it's more fair. It's more fair. It's more fair. But the rules for the regular season are the rules. And coaches have always harped on, we want the same rules for the regular season and the same rules for the postseason. Right. There's a lot of different strategic things that come into play, like what we saw in Super Bowl 58. Do you kick off or do you take the ball when you know you're guaranteed a possession after the first team drives down and potentially scores a touchdown? It's no longer a walk-off. You still get a chance to match it.
The tush push. Will it and should it be banned?
You know, until the Starbucks fracas between Jordan Schultz and Ian Rappaport, the biggest story of the week was the proposal by one team and one team only to get rid of the tush push. But it helped fill the vacuum, and it gave us all something to talk about. But we have the Packers, one team that has made the proposal. No one that we've talked to is on board with it. Sean McDermott, we're going to interview him, the Bills head coach, later today. He is on the competition committee, and he has raised safety concerns about it. And his team is one of the two, the Eagles and the Bills, that use it extensively. And they have like an 87% success rate. They've used it 163 times over the last 3 years combined, more than the rest of the league put together.
Wow.
That's how often they've used it. So if he's raising safety concerns, I'm interested to know what they are and how legitimate that is.